They bought the house on a gray afternoon, the kind of day that makes everything look more serious than it really is. Standing in front of the door with the keys in their hands, they didn't speak for a moment. It wasn't fear. It was the weight of realization. This wasn't a rental, not a temporary place, not something they would leave behind in a year. This was theirs. Every choice, every mistake, every memory that would grow inside these walls would belong to them alone. When the door finally opened, the house greeted them with silence, empty rooms waiting to be filled with life. From the beginning, they knew this house wouldn't be light or minimal. They didn't want white walls or neutral spaces that tried to please everyone. They wanted something bold, something honest, something that reflected who they were together. The living room was the first space they imagined clearly. Dark walls, almost black, softened by deep red accents. A large couch in a rich, heavy fabric, low lighting that made evenings feel intimate instead of exposed. This wasn't a place for rushing or performing. It was a place to sink into after long days, to talk quietly, to exist without explanation. The bathroom became her favorite room almost immediately. A black bathtub stood like a centerpiece, matte and deep, surrounded by dark stone tiles. Red details appeared subtly: towels, candles, reflections in the mirror when the light hit just right. The room felt dramatic and calm at the same time, like a private ritual space rather than a functional necessity. Taking a bath there didn't feel routine. It felt intentional, almost grounding, as if the darkness itself invited rest and honesty. She said it felt like stepping out of the world for a moment. He agreed, even if he didn't always have the words for it. The bedroom was where the house truly came alive. Deep charcoal walls, dark wood furniture, and soft red lighting that could be adjusted depending on the mood. During the day, the room felt calm and protected. At night, it transformed into something warmer, heavier, more intimate. The bed sat low and solid, framed by textures instead of decoration. Nothing flashy, nothing unnecessary. Just a space built for closeness, for silence, for shared nights and slow mornings. Lying there together, they felt something they hadn't felt at any previous place: permanence. As weeks passed, the house absorbed them. Their routine settled naturally into the space. Morning coffee tasted stronger against dark countertops. Evenings stretched longer in dim light. Arguments felt quieter, less explosive, as if the walls encouraged reflection instead of reaction. They realized that this house wasn't just dark in color, it was deep in feeling. It didn't demand happiness or brightness. It allowed every emotion to exist without judgment. Sometimes friends asked why they chose such dark tones, why red and black, why not something lighter? They never gave a clear answer. The truth was simple, but hard to explain. This house didn't try to impress. It didn't pretend. It held them exactly as they were: intense, imperfect, passionate, calm. Buying it wasn't just a financial decision or a milestone. It was a declaration. A choice to build a life that felt real, dramatic in quiet ways, and unapologetically theirs. Living in the house changed them in ways they hadn't expected. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly, through small, everyday moments that began to feel heavier with meaning. Waking up in dark rooms didn't make mornings sad or heavy like some people warned them it would. Instead, it made mornings calm. Light entered carefully, sliding across black walls and catching red details, turning them warm instead of aggressive. Coffee tasted deeper there, conversations felt slower, and silence never felt empty. The house didn't rush them, and over time, neither did they rush themselves. They learned how much space affects emotions. In past apartments, they had filled rooms with noise to avoid thinking too much. Here, they didn't need to. The darkness softened everything. When disagreements happened, voices lowered naturally, not out of fear, but because the space invited reflection. Sitting on the edge of the bed in the red glow of the bedroom lamps, arguments often turned into conversations instead of fights. They began listening more carefully, noticing pauses, choosing words instead of throwing them. The house didn't fix them. It gave them room to fix things together. The bathroom became a kind of sanctuary. Late at night, when the world felt loud even from far away, one of them would run a bath, light a candle, and disappear into the black tub for a while. Steam softened the dark stone, red reflections danced on the walls, and time seemed to pause. Sometimes they shared that space in silence, sometimes with quiet music, sometimes with nothing but water and breath. Those moments weren't about luxury. They were about permission, to rest, to feel, to let the day go without explanation. The bedroom carried its own rhythm. Nights there were slower, more intentional. Mornings lingered. The red tones didn't feel aggressive, they felt alive. It became the place where plans were whispered instead of announced, where fears were admitted without embarrassment, where comfort came not from brightness, but from depth. They realized that intimacy didn't need light to grow. It needed safety. And this room gave them exactly that. Over time, the house stopped feeling new and started feeling rooted. Shoes left by the door, books stacked unevenly, fingerprints on dark surfaces that no longer bothered them. Friends noticed how different they seemed there, calmer, more grounded, more present. Some didn't understand the choice of colors or mood, but that stopped mattering. The house wasn't built to be explained. It was built to be lived in. One evening, sitting together in the living room, red light low, rain tapping against the windows, one of them said quietly that this was the first place that felt like it could hold their future without changing them. The other nodded, knowing exactly what that meant. Buying the house hadn't been about owning walls or rooms. It had been about choosing a space that allowed depth instead of performance, truth instead of brightness. And in that dark, red-aced home, they finally felt something rare, not just comfort, but belonging.